My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Gallop Out. I'm your host, Ryan, joined as usual by my co-host, Jackson Muniz. Jackson, back from New York. How's it going? Oh, you're muted. What a way to start the show. Man, that.
I feel like I've been good about it lately, but
out the gate.
Not a good start. You don't want to break 5 lengths behind the rest of the field. That's not usually a winning formula. But glad to be back, and glad to be back where it's a little bit warmer than it was last weekend in New York. It actually was fine until Saturday. Saturday night was miserable.
Gets a little cold out there. It's raining out in SoCal, at least for me, down in San Diego. So a little bit of that new weather. Obviously, I threw up the comment from Noah. Hell yeah, Mixto. We're not talking about Mixto today, though. We are going to be talking about the late pick 4 this weekend at Fairgrounds. 4 graded stakes to go through, as well as the grade 2 Rachel Alexandra and the grade 2 Risen Star, Oaks and Derby preps on the road, of course, to that first Saturday in May at Churchill Downs. Jackson, what were your thoughts on the sequence before we dive in?
I thought it was maybe not the most, wide open betting races that you're ever going to see, but there's definitely, as far as the last 2 races in particular, as having the Oaks implications, Derby implications, and I think everyone's pretty excited to see what Paladin's going to do. I think he's probably at the top of most people's lists, whether he's first or second behind with Nearly. He's probably in the top. He's definitely in the top 3, and just curious to see how he does in his 3-year-old debut.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. I think he's probably towards the top of most people's list, but a horse named Emerging Market, who just won at Tampa with a 96 buyer, had to pop on the scene pretty strong as a horse that maybe could make some noise later on in this Derby trail. But yeah, right now, no doubt about it, Paladin is the leader in the clubhouse, especially with Ted Noffey being sidelined for the Derby season while he rehabs. So, Jackson, we'll get on into it. I thought the sequence was cool. I like that we got 2 grass races, and then obviously 2 important Oaks preps. We're not going to waste any more time. We'll get on into it. We're going to start race number 9. 1 turf race and 3 dirt races. Race number 9 is the grade 3 Mine Shaft Stakes. We're going a mile and a 16th on the main track. Picks are up on the screen. I'm going 6-2. Jackson, you're going 2-6. We're going to start with you, Jackson. The number 2, Accelerize for Todd Pletcher. Certainly took a step up last time in the Louisiana. Lightly raced 4-year-old. This one got your top pick.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Ryan. I kind of felt like this was most likely going to be a 2-horse race between Accelerize or Hit Shows toward the outside. And as you go through the pace scenario in this race, there's just not a whole lot of speed in here. And I think Accelerize is probably going to have things his own way, like maybe even more so than he did last time in the Louisiana Stakes, because he did face some pressure throughout that race. They went pretty fast up front, put away a couple challenges, including the challenge of Just a Touch, who I think would be favored in here. I don't know. It just kind of feels like if he runs back that last race, I think he's the most likely winner. I don't know about you, and I don't think it's going to be bet like that.
I would completely agree with that statement. I think he is. I think the 2 is probably the most likely winner.
Then why don't you have him on top?
I don't think you're going to get 4-1. I think the price is going to get bet down a lot, and I think
is he going to be lower? Is he going to be lower than Hit Show?
Not by much. Or no, sorry, not going to be lower. Sorry, Hit Show's going to be lower, but I think it's going to be close. And I like Hit Show's body of work. Simply put, this horse, I don't love Just a Touch, if we're being honest.
That's fair.
I think that horse is more fraudulent than he is good. And while he kind of put him away last time, I think Pratt just really did an excellent job of getting this horse in a position to win, maybe knowing and seeing the results from the summer campaign of Just a Touch, knowing that, he doesn't necessarily have a tendency to get by those horses. He kind of likes to have things his own way, talking about just a touch. So Pratt did excellent to have Accelerize in the right spot and just kind of got the job done in a race that didn't feature much early pace. So Pratt took it to him early and hung around there late. Obviously, he's not aboard because he's over in Saudi for some Saudi Cup races, including Nisos in the main feature race out there. I get the point. I get the love on Accelerize for sure. Johnny V obviously is no slouch. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. This horse seems to be working well out of there. I just wanted to go in a different direction. I do like Hit Show. I think the Fairgrounds stretch really fits him. I think that there is going to be a decent amount of pace in here to set things up. So, I mean, I got to take Florent Giroux and, got to do what you got to do to there. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Hit Show's body of work is a lot stronger than what Accelerize has done. I know Accelerize is pretty lightly raced, but Hit Show has shown that he still has that same form that he's had in the past. So I want to give him the look here. I'll go 6-2, but no problem with your 2-6.
Yeah, I don't know. You said it looks like there's a decent amount of pace. Like who's the other speed? I mean, Hit Show on time form might be the second fastest horse. I mean, he's certainly right there. It's kind of splitting hairs, and he is not a fast horse early on.
Yeah, he's not. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I
guess Stowaway maybe goes pressures him from the outside. He's been close, but he's not really exactly a speed type either.
No, he's not. I do think the number 5 Time to Win could be a little bit more forward. I know he hasn't shown maybe a ton, but all of that has been going one turn. Maybe the stretch out to 2 turns just naturally brings him into the race a little bit more. We can talk about the pace, but no, Accelerize from the inside is likely going to have the pace advantage, but is going to have to hold off the closers late. And Hit Show does really finish off well, and I do think he's benefited by that long fairground stretch.
Yeah.
And I don't think he'll be overbet. I think 7-5, 8-5 is fair enough on a horse like Hit Show, who's shown that he can be consistent and a top player in this older handicap division. So I want to see what he can do here. So 6-2 for me, 2-6 for Jackson. We'll move on to race 10. It's the mile and an 8th Fairground Stakes grade 3 over the grass. Picks are up on the screen. I'm going 6-7. Jackson is going 7-5. There we go. Jackson, will start the conversation with you one more time. 7 Capuna, a horse that I almost put on top for the 4th straight time. But I opted to go to a different direction. I didn't think there was a ton of pace in here. And this horse is a 1-run closer, but has gotten a couple slow paces. What ended up giving you the confidence to choose this one on top?
Yeah, well, you definitely hit the nail on the head as far as his biggest obstacle in this race. And there really isn't a lot of speed. And I think that's kind of going to be the theme of all 4 of the races that we're going to talk about in the sequence. But there wasn't a whole lot of speed from last time, and they didn't go particularly quick. I know that says the race favored closers. I think that's more because the race kind of did fall apart, but it was all the favorites. It wasn't like it was, the long shots were on the lead and they didn't keep going because they were long shots, and the best horses won. And that's why it got the closing designation in that race. And he was wide the whole way around. I know he broke from the rail, but especially on that final turn, he was 3-4 wide the entire way. He made the extended move. Despite going wide, he kept going, and it wasn't like that race was ever in doubt. I mean, he definitely got the best of Laginos. Cameo performance, I thought, had a little bit of trouble in that spot, or at least had to wait more than he wanted to. But I mean, Capuna's just in raging form right now. His last 3 races have been really good. I think if he runs back to any of them, he's got a very good chance. And I think 3-1 on him is a very fair price. He's
I thought so too.
Really good right now.
Yeah, he's definitely good. Those last 3 numbers definitely stick off the page in terms of what it would take to win this race. You see the number 8, I'd Rather Be Blessed, kind of got away with Murder on the front end, 2 back, and was able to hold off a late charge from Capuna that day. One thing about Capuna, I do think he likes to be on the outside of horses. I think that's kind of where he absolutely does his best running. 2 back in that race where I'd Rather Be Blessed kind of took them did take them the entire way, walking the dog on the front end. Capuna dove to the inside, looked like, kind of started spinning his wheels a little bit. I do think he likes to be on the outside, which you could very well get. I ended up trying to get a little bit cute with an improving horse that I've had my eye on in Montador for Michael Stidham, Godolphin. Tyler Gaffleon going to be aboard today for the second time. Was aboard 3 back for a win going the same distance at Churchill. Obviously, I think Lasix helps. Not sure he ran his best in the Grade 3 Commonwealth, but Giacoso was pretty good. So was Chapman's Peak, who was the favorite that day. Came right back, won here in the wood chipper, but was pretty close to a slow pace. So I want to see him definitely take a step up on that, but 6-1 is a price that I'm willing to take that gamble. He came back to, or this is his first start rather of his 4-year-old year, but ended his 3-year-old season with the strongest pace, or second highest number, I should say, on his form, and could very well take a step forward here.
Yeah, and he's definitely got a pace advantage, it seems like, right? Because I think I'd Rather Be Blessed, you kind of talked about, is going to go. Montador should be right behind him. I think he's going to get a really good trip in here.
Yeah, I would think so. He should sit the best of the trips. He's going to have to hold off Capuna late, but if the pace is slow enough, we've seen that, compromise some of those closers before. We'll go right to the inside. Cameo Performance, your second choice in here. Brendan Walsh, Ben Curtis teaming up.
I do wonder whether he's a little bit better going a mile rather than the 9 furlongs. Just watching some of his races back, I don't know if this is an ideal distance for him. But I kind of talked about in the most recent race, Capuna was in the clear, and even though Capuna was wide, he stayed out of trouble and just kept going, the whole way because there wasn't a straw in his path. Whereas Cameo Performance, it felt like they were kind of together turning for home, and Cameo Performance kind of had to wait and wait and wait, and by the time he got through, Capuna was gone. He was never going to catch him. And that trouble isn't really listed in the comment lines either. So you're not going to pick up on that unless you go back and watch the replay. I think if he's going to be 6-1 in that range, maybe even a little bit higher, he could be worth using as backup. And he's just got some races that put him right there against his field.
He definitely does. He could take a big step forward versus this group and get the job done because, yeah, you mentioned he has the back numbers that certainly fit. So he just has to get back to that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on Brilliant Birdie? I think we should probably at least mention him because he's a very cool horse for Shree. He's very talented. He was third in the turf mile at Keeneland.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy you brought that up. I had Brilliant Birdie in third before I realized we were just doing top 2 picks for the race. Very talented horse. Obviously, you mentioned the third place finish. This is going to kick off his 5th-year-old season as a full horse. So we love to see these horses stay in training as they get older. He's been a picture of consistency. I just wonder, he's always been around, and I mean, he kind of lost his form towards the end of that 4-year-old season. But again, maybe that third place finish, maybe I'm being too critical that he didn't get the job done in a very, very tough field, seeing his Rhetorical came out of there. But, program trading, obviously disappointed on Pegasus Day, but Rhetorical's a very good horse. That was a very strong race. So, if he takes a step forward, he can certainly factor in here. And even if he kind of remains the same, I do anticipate him to kind of finish in the money. My thought was this is probably, knowing Cherie, this is probably a stepping stone to a bigger race.
Yeah.
So that was the only reason I couldn't pick this horse a little bit higher. What about you?
That was my concern too, because he didn't run well in his debut and he didn't run well in his comeback race in 2025 either. And both of those races also came at Fairgrounds. So not only has he not run well off the bench, he hasn't run particularly well at this racetrack. I will say the race last year off the bench, that was when I'd Rather Be Blessed won. That was a day when the rail, which is the place to be, he was never near it. So maybe you don't want to be too harsh for that performance. I just feel like with as much money as Cherie's been taking at this meet, and like this horse could be favored. And I have enough questions about him to want to try to beat him in the spot if he's going to take that much money.
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. We have talked about the 2025 running of the Muniz Memorial Classic so many times on this show because I mean, all the horses that have come out of there are horses that for the most part are still running today. And yeah, the inside on that day is one of the better play against, or one of the bigger playbacks or play against, depending on the runner. But you mentioned 0 for 2 at Fairgrounds, but kind of has a couple of excuses in those. So I do wonder if maybe we see, again, that mid to low 90 buyer, and that's going to get this horse in the money. But I do think this is a stepping stone to some bigger races later on in the year. All right, we'll wrap things up with race number 10. I'm going 6-7. Jackson's going 7-5. Move on now to the first of 2 preps that we're going to talk about. And Jackson, you and I are in lockstep on this one. I'm going 6-3. Jackson's going 6-3. We'll start the conversation with Love Your Neighbor. Actually, let's start the conversation with Bella Ballerina because she's the favorite. I think deservedly so, especially off that last out win. Jackson, what were your thoughts on the grade 2 Goldenrod, whether it's the horses coming out of there or my opinion, I guess, on her was it seemed like she maybe got a little bit tired towards the end of that race. And this Fairgrounds stretch is very, very long. And I think that can sometimes catch up to those horses.
To be honest, I think I was most impressed with her race. I was more impressed with her race than any other 2-year-old last year, 2-year-old filly that ran in 2025. I loved her performance in the Goldenrod, and I know she did get tired late. She was also in chase mode the entire race, chasing a really, really fast horse whose name is escaping me right now. I can probably pull it up, but she was just chasing the whole way, and that's just not usually a winning trip, especially at Churchill Downs. It's not a track where you necessarily want to be wide the whole way. Yeah. And she got the best of that rival, kicked away atop the stretch. At some point, the fast pace kind of took its toll. She still had enough left in the tank to hold off the deeper closers that got dream trips. And I thought it was a really strong performance, especially given it was just her second start of her career. It was her first start going 2 turns. I was really, really impressed by what I saw with her in that race. I just don't know if this is – I think Brennan Walsh, is going to have a plan. He's going to map out the plan of the Oaks. This is not a race I think they're going to be tightening the screws on to get a win out of her. Kind of just feels like, okay, she'll be 85%, 90%. Get a race in her. Hopefully she runs well, and next time they'll crank up the screws and we'll see her better performance.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that point. Just because, I do think Bella Ballerina last time out definitely showed a lot of promise getting the job done that day. And then immediately, got some time off. This is her 3-year-old debut on the road to the Oaks. And I'm with you. This is kind of the stepping stone to later in the meet with that main Oaks prep, which I want to say is the Fairground Oaks, but I might have just made that one up as their main Oaks prep. But Bella Ballerina, very talented, could win this if she just, naturally progresses. But there's other runners in this field that have run similar buyers, given those are more recent. And this was as a late season 2-year-old. So, do with that info what you may, but, you have Powered by Family for Cherie, given it was a muddy track, but posted an 84 buyer. And then let's talk about the 6, Love Your Neighbor, who has paired up essentially those 80 buyer speed figures when finishing second in each of the last 2. Taken by the Wind is a good Oaks prospect for the Kenny McPeak barn, and then Hit Parade for the in the race 2 back in the Untappable. What are your thoughts here as we both picked this horse on top? I was trying to get a little bit cute and try and beat Bella Ballerina, and I think you and I were in lockstep as we spend too much time together.
Yeah, well, I think for both Love Your Neighbor and for Bella Ballerina, there's just not a lot of other pace in here. And it kind of feels like they're going to be able to dictate terms to the rest of this field. They're not going to go too fast to do it. And with Love Your Neighbor having the recency edge, the blinkers are going on, and as you mentioned, she's paired up those buyer tops. I do think this is a filly that we could see a big jump forward on Saturday for her. And I liked her last couple of races. I know the Silver Bullet Day was kind of a merry-go-round, but they went really slow. She was trying to catch Taken by the Wind. And as you mentioned, that's a really nice filly for, I believe it's Kenny McPeak. So it's not like she was chasing home, a scrub and couldn't go by. She was chasing home a nice horse and just couldn't quite get there. She was gaining late. Even the race 2 back in the Untappable, she was in a really difficult spot in the stretch. She got super tight down the rail. I think the jockey actually might have lost the irons at one point as they're hitting the rail. I thought her last 2 races were pretty good, and now she's drawn outside of her main pace rival. Blinkers going on. I just feel like at the price she's going to be on Saturday, she's worth a gamble in this spot because I think she has a lot of upside.
I agree. And while we're on the topic of Love Your Neighbor, who's posted at 6-1 in the morning line, Luis Saez, who's had a lot of success down at the Fairgrounds so far this meet, drawn right to the inside of the number 7 Majestical. One, what do you make of the last out performance? Because got Lasix and, certainly took a step up. It's always tough for me to judge those performances when they get Lasix, but they also try something new. This filly tried 2 turns for the first time, clearly excelled as she powered away from that field. She looked like on the debut that she would appreciate the stretch out. Do you think Lasix made the difference, or was it the distance? And do you give this one a shot, whether to factor in to the pace scenario early or as a win candidate?
My issue with her last race was, I remember that race well because we covered it for one of our shows. The field she faced that day was bad. It just was not a very strong maiden group, and that's why she was 3-5. And to her credit, she got the job done. She did it on a really soft trip. It was a slow pace against a bad field, and the number just didn't come back that fast. I mean, it was 72 buyer, and you're comparing that to the horse like this Love Your Neighbor who got back-to-back 80s. and you're going to get a better price on Love Your Neighbor, I think you're supposed to bet the 6 all day long. I don't think it's automatic. You're not even questioning it. So if this horse drifts up, then sure, maybe you take a shot on her. But at the price, at least based on the morning line, I don't want any part of her.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on all the points that you made. Bad field last time. I threw up the next out buyer speed figures. A couple kind of improvements out of there, but nothing really that stands out. And yeah, it wasn't, I don't think, the strongest race. So yeah, I'm with you though. 6-3 for me, 6-3 for Jackson. Last note, powered by family, and I'll see if you have any quick thoughts. I don't want to ever bet these horses coming off of meant to be turf races, and then they do well over a wet track against mainly turf horses, and now you're in much deeper against dirt meant horses. So I don't think 9-2 is anywhere close to the price I would want to take.
Yeah, I will say she is interesting though. I mean, the number came back fast, and you can only beat who's in front of you.
Yeah,
84 is, I believe, it's the fastest in the race, actually.
Yes.
So, yeah, the issue is the race kind of fell apart, and as we talked about earlier, they love Cherie down here for a good reason, because she's very, very good at what she does, but she could be overbet in this spot as well.
She could be. I'm looking at the next out buyer speed figures. All 4 of those horses that have run back all went right back to the turf, and none of them improved their buyer. So it's one that could be very talented. Obviously, Quality Road by Empire out of Empire Maker Dam certainly could get the job done, and certainly could love it. But one is going to have to beat me.
And we're talking about a horse that has absolutely no speed at all. Correct. In a race that doesn't have much speed. So she seems up against it from that perspective.
Correct. Should mention, actually, I guess before we go on, because this is an Oaks prep, Just Singing down on the rail for J.K. Sweezy does get Johnny V in the saddle to make her 3-year-old debut, but another one that lacks all of that early speed. So I wonder if that's going to compromise her chances a little bit, but was only a length behind Bella Ballerina in her 2-year-old bow.
Yeah, with a way better trip.
With a way better trip. You're correct. All right, race number 12. Up on the screen, this is the 9 furlong Risen Star Stakes Grade 2. Derby points are on the line. And Jackson, you and I are both going with the favorite horse that we talked about at the top of the show. I'm going 4-7. You are going 4-3. We got to start the conversation with Paladin. Powerful winner of the Remsen. Last time out, Renegade certainly came back to flatter that. This past weekend in the Sam F. Davis, got the job done there with a 92 buyer. Balboa came back out to improve the buyer speed figure as well. All the other runners kind of behind didn't do too much. Igniter, you can see, is it italicized, just won, about 15 minutes ago? No, just maybe an hour ago at Aqueduct today. So there are some runners that came out to certainly improve that form. Jackson, this was a non-biased day, in my opinion, at Aqueduct. We've seen the rail and speed, played pretty favorably. This, I think, was one of the fair days on Remsen Day. I'd love your thoughts there. And obviously, this is one of the main, if not the Derby, the main Derby contender as it stands right now.
Yeah, he's been very impressive in both of his starts. I mean, the debut, he did all the dirty work in his debut, and I know he got passed by Renegade. We can argue back and forth whether he should have been DQ'd. It doesn't matter. He ran exceptionally well in that spot, given the circumstances of that race. Then came back in the Remsen and ran just as well. And, he won that race pretty easily. You can argue Renegade ran just as well in there as well, with a bit of a tougher trip. But no doubt the number came back fast. He looked good doing it. It was just his second career start. And he has a lot of speed in a race that, again, I mean, I guess Chip Honcho is going to be quick. The other horse that I picked, I can't remember his name, Carson Street, another one that has some speed, but isn't he going to get the exact same trip he got in the Remsen? And he's just going to sit in the pocket in third. And the other issue is, those numbers he ran back and as a 2-year-old are faster than what everyone else has been running recently. So if he just runs back to those races, he's probably going to win. If he's taken any kind of step forward, which I would assume he has, he's going to crush this field. So I think he's a very likely winner of this race. And as we kind of alluded to at the top of the show, I mean, he's got to be in the conversation as one of the Derby favorites at this point.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, if he takes if he runs back to the 2-year-old figs, this field's in trouble. If he improves, the entire 3-year-old crop is in trouble, in my opinion. And, he's one of those that obviously he's a very good looker. And the ownership group for Magnier and Tabor, they definitely know horse flesh better than I would say 99% of the people on the planet. In the barn from Chad Brown, who Obviously, this is the same sort of route to this point that Sierra Leone took a couple years ago, going down to the Risen Star at Fairgrounds. So I'm curious to see how this pans out. But Paladin, a well deserving favorite, and one that I'm personally very excited to see run because this is just kind of one of those horses that excites you when you are on the road to the Derby Trail. So next one we'll talk about, Jackson. We'll go right to the inside. Carson Street, Brendan Walsh, and Ben Curtis teaming up for this one.
Just real quick. For some reason, I thought it said Paladin's 8-5, or sorry, 4-5. I'm just now seeing it's 8-5.
Yeah, 8-5.
So I'm texting our friend Will if we can. He'll be like 3-5 on Saturday. No, there's no way he's gonna be 8-5.
I think 3-5 would be pretty spot on.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna get
like he's. Who else is gonna get bet in that spot?
Cherie again, probably.
Okay, we'll talk about the rest of the field here.
Yeah, but as far as Carson Street goes, I'm not a huge fan of the Lecomte, and we're going to talk about a few other horses that are coming out of there. I do think you can maybe make the argument that he possibly ran the best race that day just because of the fast pace. He was always close to it. He wasn't in the best spot. He was on the inside, but he also wasn't in front, which is not something you see very often. You don't really see horses pressing the pace a half a length behind on the rail. So I don't think he was in the most comfortable position necessarily in that spot. And I thought he ran well to hang on for a slice. He finished third in there. He got the best of Chip Honshaw, who admittedly did have a much wider trip. I just think if you're trying to spice up these exotics a little bit, the way to do it is to try to beat the Cherie horse in Golden Tempo, who's going to be a clear-cut second choice. And as we talked about, he may have a pace advantage in this spot. He's going the right way. He's improved his buyer tops, which we already saw him do 3 and 4 back, and he jumped up a few points. So if he can do that again in this spot, I don't see why he can't hang around for a slice.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Let's talk about Golden Tempo before we go out to the number 7. Look, got the job done last time. This is a horse that I think you and I, before the day, were saying had absolutely no shot. If this is the horse that I remember right. And, hey, got the job done, proved us wrong. And Cherie ended up running 1-2 in there. And I didn't like either the Cherie horses that day. I did like Mesquite maybe a little bit better. But all that to say, this horse clearly took a step up. This is kind of that classic horse that classic case where anytime you see Cherie DeVoe, a trainer that doesn't typically win with those first time out starters, come out and win with one first out, and then, threw him into a grade 3 right off of a 6 furlong win, went 8.5 furlongs in a graded stakes and got the job done there. This could be a special one for sure, but I think, again, it's one that you're supposed to try and play against. Is going to need that pace set up, but does seem to love it down there at Fairgrounds.
Yeah, the issue I have with him, and I'm going to try to beat him again in this spot, even though it didn't work last time, is he's gotten 2 really good setups, and he's gotten the job done. He's taken advantage of them, but both of those races they're way too slow. So he's getting really good setups in slow races, and now he's going to be the second choice against a much, much better animal. I just don't think that's a good bet in this spot. I mean, he's got to improve probably 10 points to beat Paladin, I would guess, if you're going to project some forward movement from him. And where does that movement come from? I mean, he's not going to get nearly the same setup he did last time.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that statement. Doesn't look like he's going to get anywhere close to that setup, and is, I would say, assuredly going to be the second choice in this field. So certainly one to play against. I'm going to go with the $5 million baby, Courting, as my second choice. Todd Pletcher, Johnny V. Look, first time out, wasn't bet really at all. Lost to Igniter that day. Rebel Instinct came back to win the next out. Igniter, a horse we just talked about, coming back in the Remsen Stakes, and kind of threw in a dud there, but just came back out to win. I would say somewhat against the bias at Aqueduct today. But all that to say, a $5 million horse that was not bet first time out for connections of Whisper Hill, Todd Pletcher, and Johnny V. That means the horse was not there to win that day, but still ran promising, finished that race off well. Came out next time, was obviously bet to, I believe, 1-9 or 1-5 in a 4-horse field, and just kind of walked the dog on the front end, but got everything his own way and ran away and hid that day. Came back in the Remsen, didn't run great, but did, that was only the 3rd career start, finished that race off well enough, I thought. And they gave this horse a little bit of time, comes back in this spot down at the Fairgrounds now, getting blinkers, which I think is maybe a little bit interesting. I don't know whether I look at that as a good or a bad thing. I'd love to see if you had any thoughts on that, Jackson. But I like the work tab. Seems to be coming into this the right way. And Obviously, they paid $5 million for this baby out of a cavorting who is spectacular as a racehorse and by Curlin. But this is one I certainly want to keep an eye on. I think 6-1 is a fair enough price, and one that I think might maybe shows a little bit more speed. I know Timeform has the early as a 92, and the late is a 99. I think that's interesting. I just don't know that he has found his exact run style yet. So I'm curious what the blinkers do.
Well, yeah, the blinkers they're trying to inject more speed into him because he's just not that fast. And I know he had the lead 2 back against a really slow field. I mean, Grittiness is a horse that has absolutely no speed whatsoever. I mean, that just wasn't a fast group. So that he kind of just got the lead by default that day. The times he's faced horses of this caliber, he's been pretty far back. So that's what they're trying to do with the blinkers. Just get him a little bit closer, get him into the race earlier. I don't mind the pick. I mean, there are expectations here, obviously, based on the pedigree, based on the purchase price. I mean, he's supposed to get better with more age, and as these races continue to get longer.
Yeah, he is. I wonder if this is kind of one of those horses. Obviously, this is thinking way down the line, but one that they'd want to keep in training beyond a 3-year-old season because those Curlins keep getting better. Bernardini, you can say the same about. So this is one that, is just always going to be in my stable notes as one to watch. But this is a good spot where I think 6-1 could certainly improve from those 2-year-old numbers and take that step forward. If the blinkers get him a little more forwardly placed, I think that could certainly spell a little bit of danger. Love to see that Johnny V is keeping them out as well. Jackson, any other horses that you think we should talk about in here before we wrap things up?
Not really. I mean, I think Chip Hollinger at this point just doesn't want to go this far based on his. I know he won 2 back somehow, but that was a stagger fest home. And last time in the Clomped against a better field, we saw him get tired late. So I think he's probably going to be better going 1 turn. I think he's a really nice horse. I feel like he could be, one of those Alan Jerkins horses going the 7 furlongs in the summer. I just feel like he's up against it going the 2 turns.
Yeah, you and I share similar opinions there. I think Derby Day, it's the Pat Day Mile.
The Pat Day, I think, would be
like the Pat Day Mile. I think is perfect for him. You mentioned H. Allen Jerkins. I think that's also a great spot. Just he does seem like that 1 turn type of horse, but he has that early foot and does have some late finish to him. You can tell that he wants to win these races. It's not like he stops trying. I think he just physically gets tired. So that's one to keep an eye on if he comes back. Go ahead.
And you can't fault them for continuing to take a shot. I mean, there's not a lot of strong, big money races going to 1 turn at this point. So keep trying, and maybe he does continue to develop. And as he gets more experience, and maybe he does, a little more stamina into him as we get a little older.
Yeah, I mean, crazier things have happened. All right, wrapping up the Grade 2 Risen Star Stakes. I am going 4-7. Jackson's going 4-3. Jackson, that was a pretty good sequence to go through. Obviously, I think there's some big names to pay attention to, whether it's Kapuna in the second race. You have Hit Show, who won last year's Dubai World Cup overseas, or somehow over a horse that I wish had gotten the job done. But and then into the Oaks and the Derby preps. So a really strong contingent in there with Bella Ballerina, and then one of the horses that is that I'm most excited to watch in Paladin. Quick comment to throw up here. Marco says no suit for the show. He's feeling totally disrespected. Yeah, if Jackson ever wore a suit on this show, I don't know what I would do.
That was the first time I wore a suit and probably since high school prom, honestly.
I was gonna say since prom.
Think of another time before that. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I don't think I've worn a suit.
No, it's probably not going to show up on this show.
Yeah. I wouldn't think so. I think, I don't know. Oh, the last time I wore a suit was at my buddy's wedding. So I guess that makes sense. But other than that, I mean, I'm not much of a suit guy. At Del Mar, they tried to get me to dress up, but I got to wear those fun shirts. I threw a sport coat on from time to time, though. But all that to say, this has been the late pick 4 at Fairgrounds for this Saturday, the 14th of February. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week with even more content. Take care, and we'll see you then.